You know both of those notes, and we're going to learn more today. But before we get on to playing the recorder, I just want to go over a few things that I forgot to tell you last week. I realized right after I finished making the video that I had forgotten a few sort of obvious things. So, first of all, these recorders are designed to be one piece. So one piece of plastic, so they're not supposed to come apart in any way. So I know even though this is a different color, it should all stay together as one piece. So that's pretty clear. I have a recorder at home that's wood, and yes, this top piece does come apart on mine. There are some plastic recorders that are in three pieces, the top, middle, and bottom, and it would be around where you see these marks. This part unscrews. Not on these recorders though. Nothing unscrews, nothing comes out, it stays in one piece. So I just wanted to go over that. Also, one thing I always do the first day of recorders that I didn't do with you is pass out permanent markers and have you write your names on the recorder bags. So I'm actually doing that right now on mine because I want to know which recorder is mine. So I wrote Mr. Bowers on my recorder bag, and because when we're all together, you don't want to be playing the recorder and then accidentally your neighbor picks it up, because that's, as we all know, how germs and diseases spread. And certainly in a pandemic, we don't want to be doing that. So, and also it's better if you can do this at home if you have a permanent marker, because once we're all together at school, even for you to write the markers, we would have to sterilize each marker in between, which is a little bit clumsy, and I'd rather spend my time on the recorder playing. So, all right, which brings us back to the recorder. Another thing that I forgot last week is to talk about posture. How should your body be when you're playing the recorder? Now, I forgot this because I stand pretty much the whole time when I'm teaching, whether it's live upstairs in room 215 or over the computers like we're doing right now. So I pretty much stand, which is the best way to be. But let's talk about body posture. Good posture is a lot easier when you're standing, but I figured you're most likely going to be sitting at home. So let me talk about sitting posture. Right now, I feel comfortable. This is a good posture. Notice I'm sitting on the chair. I'm taking about half of the chair up or so. It's actually the same way I would sit for playing the piano, right? I just happen to have a recorder in my hands instead. So I have both, my feet are flat on the floor. You can either have your legs together or a little apart if you want, whatever's most comfortable for you. Basically, you just want to be comfortable, engaged, and ready. So I don't want my back to be against the chair like this. That's not a very good position. Also, this, even though I'm sitting up, I just feel like, to me, that's not very comfortable, for playing an instrument, at least. And also, you don't want to hunch over because, well, first of all, you can't even fill up your lungs very well. And also, your brain isn't quite as engaged as you are if you're just sitting up straight like this. So it's not military straight ramrod, no, because that's not comfortable for a long period of time. It's just straight back, fairly relaxed. Okay, also now, you're going to be using your Chromebooks, most likely, if you're at home playing. So let's talk about what that means. Now, I have an iPad, not a Chromebook, but it's the same idea. So we don't want this to happen, right? I'm hunched over, looking at the computer. So I'm here in the Bethany Choir Room. I just looked around and found something. Check this out, the recycling bucket. I just sort of made up something on the spot. Let's see if I do this, and my iPad is closer to eye level. Now this would be more comfortable for me. Excellent. I could play like this for a while. So that's the position we want to be in. I'm going to do the rest of this standing because that's what I'm used to. All right, I'm back on my feet. That's how I like to bleed when I'm playing a recorder. Let's just talk about one more thing, is the angle of the recorder. So it's somewhere between vertical, which is uncomfortable, right? For me to play this, I have to kind of hunch over, and that's no good. And Horizontal, you could play this way, but it's not necessary. Well, first of all, other instruments like trumpet, the idea is that the sound goes out that way. On recorder, the sound comes from a lot of different places. It's coming out of this hole, it's coming out of some of the finger holes. It doesn't come out of the end. In fact, I'm going to show you. I'm going to plug this hole up. I can still play, right? It doesn't really, so we don't have to blast people this way. So my comfortable angle is this. Let me see, get adjusted. Right here. So that's my angle. I think it's 40.375 degrees. Just kidding. No, there is no right angle. It's whatever's comfortable for you. So close to 45 degrees, but we're not taking measurements. Now we're going to play. Okay, here we are. We've got our two notes. We've got B. Did you try that? Let's try it again. Ready? I go first, then you go. Good. So you already know the first three notes of Jingle Bells, right? Good. And then there's more to it. Maybe we'll learn that later on. I'm not going to get into that today, but notice I am starting every note with my tongue. So I'm not going, huh, huh, huh. No, I'm going, tu, tu, tu. Now, it doesn't take much tongue at all. It's not like singing where you want to really pronounce everything in the letter T. No, if you use that much on the recorder, it's not going to work. So I'm not going, oh, it's already bad. That would be like, no, that's too much. So it's more like a, tu, 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 right? Good. So that's B. A is just down one more, right? You have thumb, index finger, middle finger. Let's try that again. I'm going to do a few rhythms, then you go. Getting fancy, right? Remember, I'm doing all that with my tongue. Toot, 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 right? You can't see my tongue, but trust me, that's what's making the sound. So, did I say left hand on top? I sure hope I did, because that's what I meant to say at the beginning of today. So, left hand, make sure it's your left hand. I can't emphasize enough. There's a reason for that, actually. It's not just because I know if you're right-handed, you feel like I'd rather use my right hand. Well, the way the recorder is set up, this is for in the future, when we start playing these lower notes, notice the very bottom curls around a little bit this direction, and if you look at your right hand the way it's shaped, that pinky is going to fit perfectly right on that last hole. So there is a reason for me saying left hand on top. Plus, if you go on to any other wind instrument, whether it's clarinet, saxophone, flute, you're going to have that same hand position. And I don't think they make left-handed flutes, and it's sure going to be hard to play this way. So left hand on top. Good. So now we're going to try some rhythms with B and A. That's B, A, B. Good. So you already now know one of the most famous jazz tunes of all time. It starts with just two notes. It's this. B and A. So let's talk about that. So What by Miles Davis. All right, now I got the projector going so you can see what I'm talking about. Miles Davis was a great jazz trumpet player. He wrote this song. It's called So What? And if you are looking for it on YouTube, pretty much as soon as you type in Miles Davis, sometimes this will come up right away. If you need to type that in, So What, you'll get the name of the tune. It's off an album called Kind of Blue, which is one of the most famous jazz albums of all. So if you have anyone in your family who's a huge jazz fan, there's a good chance that they already own this. And if you like it, I encourage you to actually, you can buy it probably from a downloadable version or a CD, because it's good to support the artist. Even though Miles Davis is dead, the money goes to his estate, and it's just a good idea to buy music to support the artists who made them. So that's all I have to say about that. Let's get into it. Here's what you need to know for so what. You just have to count in your head. 1, 2, B, A. That's it. So I'm going to do it on the recorder. 1, 2. That's it. It's kind of like you're saying, so what? So, all right. Let's try that again. So you want to get ready with B before we even start, otherwise you'll miss it. Ready? I'll count you in. 1, 2. Got it? So now, and we do that 8 times over the course of the song. That's not all there is to it. But now notice it's very short. It's not, no, that's not as jazzy. We want, toot, toot, right? I'm using my tongue. It's just 1, 2, toot, toot. That's what my mouth is doing. All right, let's try that a few times. Then I'll do it on the piano with you. All right, here we go. 1, 2. You wait a little bit, and then you do it again. Wait some more. You do it. 1, 2. Well, I almost missed it. All right, so that's how it goes. I'm going to play it on the piano. If you do want to listen to the original, the part we're doing doesn't happen until about 30 seconds in because there's a piano intro and some other stuff first. Then the bass player gets started, and we get into it. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. Week 2 of Recorder, a classic jazz tune, just like that. Well, not the whole thing, but at least the beginning of it. So get ready with a B, right? And I'm going to count you in. 1, 2. That's all you have to remember. All right, here we go. First, there's a little bass line beforehand, but get ready on the B. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Whoops. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. I messed up that last one. It's B, A. I was trying to do too many things at once. This time, you're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to look at you when it's time to come in. So the same thing, B, A, but I'm going to play a few more parts just so it sounds a little more full. All right, here we go. Take 2. 2. We're not going to do that part. That's C, B flat. I didn't even practice that. So, but there's 8 times through that B, A, and I've never tried this before with any 5th grade class, ever. So you guys are the first ones. Congratulations. All right, let's move on to some other stuff. Let's learn a new note. As much fun as 2 notes is playing so what, 3 is even better. So here we go. And some of you may have noticed, if you were eagle-eyed, you notice that when I played So What, I switched to my right hand so my left hand could play the bass line. So if you notice that, congratulations. It's a little trick I picked up over the years, but I would like you all to use your left hand on top just so you're consistently drilling that information into your brain while you're first learning. So, all right, here we are. We've had B, right? We've had A. Our next note is the next finger down, and it's called G. So we call this traditionally our ring finger. I actually have a ring on this ring finger. Basically everything except the pinky. And you don't need to wave your pinky way up in the air, but just make sure you're covering the holes. G. Let's try G a few times. Ready? I go first. Here's a few rhythms. So you can do any rhythm with G. All right, now let's try moving. Now, and make sure you really cover all the holes, because if I don't press all the way, here's what you get. It doesn't quite sound right. I have my fingers in the right place. What's happening? Well, I'm not really pressing hard enough, and some of the sound and air is leaking out. We don't want leaking out. We don't want... That's not so good. But as soon as I press a little bit harder and seal them, now it's not vice grip, but just enough to really seal the holes, and you know you've done it when you get the sound of, right, 3G. Okay, now we're going to try a bunch of things going between G and A and B, so it's kind of an ear exercise, but you can also see my fingers if it's a little confusing. We're starting with G. Ready? I go first. Good, did you get that one? G, A, G. I just lifted up my ring finger. Let's try that one again. I go first. And notice I wasn't ready and I didn't seal the holes all the way, so that's why it didn't sound so good. Let me try that again. Here I go. Good. That's ABA, right? Now we're going to try going back and forth a few times between G and A. I go first. Ready? Good. So you can switch between notes faster or slower. That's about as fast as we're going to go this time. Now I'm going to go between G and B, which is a bigger skip. So basically you want to glue your thumb and index finger to that recorder, because those aren't going anywhere. It's the other two fingers that are going up and down. So it takes a little getting used to, but if you go slowly, I think you can do it. Ready? I go first. Here I go. Good, let's try it again. So my fingers did the same thing, but my tongue was going I tongued twice on that first note. So let's try that. We're going to do what's called fingers the same, tongue changing it up. Just made that up now. Here we go. So I go first. So you can get some cool effects with just two notes, depending on what rhythms you're using. My fingers were the same. My fingers were just going, right? Pretty easy, but when I combine the note rhythms, it gets exciting. So Recorder is a lot of fun. All right, we're almost done for this week. So now we have 3 notes, and it's going to help if you can really practice those between the weeks. You can go outside so you don't bother your family. You've got great weather, even out on the sidewalk. And you can practice each note by itself, right? B, A, and you can make up fun rhythms. G. Oop, I messed up a little bit, which brings me to one more point. Now, we're only using one hand on the recorder, but it's going to help if you take your right thumb and put it on the back of the recorder just to kind of brace it. That'll make it easier to cover all the holes when you're holding G. And plus, your right hand will be in place when we actually do need to cover more holes. So here's some exercises you can do over the week. Things like this. Going back and forth between G and A. Same thing with A and B. And G and B. Which is a little tricky at first, but the more you practice, the easier it gets. Also, going up and down through all the notes we have so far, like this. Right? G, A, B, A, G, G, G. And the opposite, starting high, that is a sneak preview for next week. Mary Had a Little Lamb. Let me just play the whole thing for you, and you can try it. It goes like this. Also next week, we're going to be talking about the staff and reading the note names. If reading music sounds scary to you, don't worry, it's not scary, it just takes practice, like learning how to read English or any other language. So this is Mary Had a Little Lamb, written out for you, the version I just played. All you need to remember for now is there's something called the staff. This is a staff. This is also a staff. It continues because it's part of the same song. The staff is designed like the human hand, which has 5 fingers. Most of us have 5 fingers. I know there's a few who have extra fingers and a few who are missing fingers, but the typical human hand has 5 fingers. So imagine that at the end of each finger is a pen or pencil, and you're just going like this. You would create a staff that way. There'd be 5 lines. In between each line, there are 4 spaces. So that's a pretty easy concept. In music, you're either going down, going up, or staying on the same note. So here's the beginning of Mary Had a Little Lamb, sneak preview for next week. So I'm starting on the note B, right? Looking at this staff, I can see that I'm going down a little bit, back up, and then staying on that same level. So that's all you need to know for now. In the meantime, you can just practice those first 2 measures. It goes like this. Right? B, A, G, A, B, B, B. If you want to figure out the rest on your own, great. If not, I'll see you all next week.